Good afternoon, and thanks for joining us here on Midday, Kentucky. Troy is taking the day off for a vacation at the spa.
Yeah,
so, no.
I know. He's lounging.
I'm just kidding. Troy is behind the scenes today doing some exciting work on fun segments that we have coming up. But we do have a treat today. Elise joining us. Thanks for coming in studio.
No problem. It's exciting to be here with you guys.
And I'm excited about her forecast. I know this is the last week of summer, fall starting Friday, but it's 80s throughout the whole week, right?
It's definitely not going to be feeling like fall out there. Yeah, mid to upper 80s through the weekend.
And a beautiful weekend. Just beautiful, gorgeous. Awesome.
Well, I like it. Well, so for our ladies show today, I wanted to start off with this blog that I saw online that was talking about how every woman should relive a trip from their childhood, and that it helps you have an appreciation for your childhood and just look back on those fond memories. So I was wondering, do you guys have a trip that you think of as a child that you'd like to relive?
Well, my family's from Slovenia, and we went there when I was about 6. So I'd love to go back now that I'm older and just check out the culture again. So
oh, wow. How was that?
It was fantastic. I enjoyed it even as a 6-year-old. I mean, it wasn't any crazy story of like I was chased by a bear or something, but it was just nice to see where my family's from. So I would definitely love to go back there.
Well, that's
interesting.
What about you, Lisa?
Well, I didn't have anything quite that exotic, but you know, and I grew up with 2 older brothers that tormented me most of the time on vacations. But what I do remember is Disney World, going to Disney World for the first time and having that experience. I thought it was fantastic. So, you know, reliving that, you know, now with my kids is really fun. So, you know, I get to.
Any childhood trips that you'd like to relive without your children? Just maybe with Doug?
Just with Doug. You know, camping trips.
Okay.
We did a vacation. Actually, it was more of a trip with my youth group when I was growing up, but it was in Charlevoix, Michigan. And that's the first time I got to water ski and things like that. I would love to go back there with Doug and you know,
try
have that vacation.
That's what I think of too. I think the 2 trips that come to mind, Disney World, of course, and then we went to Lake Powell that's on like Utah-Arizona border. And that was, I remember it being so beautiful, but I really hated it. And I think it was because I wasn't enjoying being there with my tiny siblings. So I'm wondering if in my adult life I should go back and I would really like it.
Time,
yeah. Is there anything that you did as a child that like you didn't like that trip, but you think maybe now you'd have a new appreciation?
Yeah, I definitely. You know, there's one. This is horrible. My it was in the. It's in the cave. Oh, what is the name of it? It's up in Ohio, southern Ohio, and it's looking at caves and caverns and things like that. My brothers and I, we went there, and my brother they wanted to cut across this waterfall, like it was like this, just a trickle going over the rocks, and they were like, "Oh, come on, we can do it." My first brother made it across, no problem. Of course, there's signs everywhere. Do not cross. You know. And my other brother wasn't so fortunate, and I was right behind him, but he went over the waterfall, and all I could see as a child was my poor brother fall over the waterfall. I had no idea, so I'm screaming and crying, you know, and I'm sliding too, getting ready to go over him, but I was able to stop myself. But yeah, that was pretty much a nightmare. So I would like to go back because it was a beautiful area. I just, my whole memory though is that moment. I can't, you know, I don't really remember much of the surroundings, you know? What about you, Elise?
Well, we went out west, my family and I, and my brother and I, you know, we were, I think, maybe 10 at the time, and our parents took us to the Grand Canyons and a bunch of, I think it was like Bryce National Park and just different things. After a while, I mean, it's great when you're an adult and seeing that, it's beautiful, but as a child, I think one of our responses were, it's just another ditch in the ground.
Nice.
It'd be nice to go back now and have a little more appreciation for that.
You know, but you call it like you see it as a kid.
I think
you know?
as a kid, you really don't understand. I remember going on a trip like that with my dad. It was called like the Dead Forest or something. Like I don't remember what it was. It may have been the same one. It was out west.
That's possible.
And you just drive for hours and hours, and it just looks like sticks on the side of the road.
And as a kid, you're like, when is it going to end? Let's get to something fun. Yeah.
Well, let us know on Facebook if you've been to any of these places out west, and maybe you'd like to go without your parents or without your kids.
Yeah.
But Lisa, you brought an interesting study for us today. This is about
wellness. It's called a wellness index. And what it was looking at, what it said basically was that sleeping soundly and having a good sex life have a greater impact on your well-being than money. And they said that they looked at, there was over 8,000 people that were polled in this, and it was done at the Oxford Economics and the National Center for Social Research. And what they did was they looked at biomarkers, so they wanted to look at the actual physical evidence. So, you know, looking at biomarkers, what I mean by that is they were looking at, let's see, They had to, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's okay.
But they looked at blood pressure. They were looking at blood pressure. They were looking at your creatinine levels. They were looking at several different true biomarkers in your body. And then what they looked at was how did happiness correlate with that based on this poll that they did with folks. And what they found was, number one, getting a good night's sleep was the number one thing that came up more often in the top 20% of people that were happy in their life.
Okay.
And then also the next one was sex. They looked at their sex life, and as long as they were fairly happy or extremely happy with their sex life, they also were disproportionately higher in the study in the top 20%. They looked at job security. That also ranked number 3. Health of a family member was number 4, and then also being part of a community, and this all contributes to your well-being and happiness. What they meant by being a part of a community was more folks that talk to their neighbors at least once or twice a week. They were in the top 20% versus people that didn't talk to their neighbors or maybe only talk to them once a month. So it was really interesting to look at that. What do you guys think? I mean, what do you think about your own personal happiness and, you know, whether or not getting a good night's sleep is like
I would definitely
the number one thing?
appreciate
Yeah, I
more
think
sleep.
that is
I think that would make me
very
happy.
high up there. It's very high for me. I'll
Yeah.
notice it if I don't get a good night's sleep for one night, I'm struggling the next day. But if it's 2 nights in a row, it's your whole
isn't
week
there
is
a study
off.
that said something if you lose a certain amount of hours of sleep, your brain is affected for, I think, several days, like 3 days or something, because it takes it a little while to get back to full capacity of just, I guess, mental capability. So yeah, extra sleep would be fantastic.
I know, I know I feel
How
better.
many hours of sleep do you get?
Oh gosh, I get about 6 hours of sleep at night.
I really need 7, but I've noticed I've been getting 6. But it's tough in the summer, you know, getting to bed. I know, I mean, you're getting the kids to bed, and you gotta get them up in the morning.
Of course, getting up in the morning, you know, that's odd hours going to sleep, and it's still daylight half the time when we're trying to go to sleep too. So that really doesn't help, you know, when you got the sun out.
It's true, and studies have really shown that for our own mental well-being, that truly getting 7 to 8 hours of sleep is ideal. That is what we should be getting every single night. So if I can just push that, you know, if
so
we
we
can all
gotta go
push
for that
time
tonight.
just a little bit, you know, further ahead, we'd be good.
Nice. Well, Lisa, what did you bring in for us today? Something about bridesmaids.
Yes. Well, obviously, everyone considers it an honor if they are asked to be in the bridal party, but sometimes it can be a little bit of a cost, and some experts were kind of just giving their input on what they think the bride should be paying for and what the bridesmaids should be paying for. And it was saying something about the bridesmaids should normally pay for the shoes, the accessories, the wedding gift, of course, and the bachelorette party. For the bride, some optional costs could be hair and makeup, but that also could fall on the bridesmaids, the hotel accommodation, the bridesmaids' dresses. I guess it really depends on the bride what they want to do. But it was saying that the bride should take care of the bouquets and the transportation to the wedding. But I think, you know, it is technically considered an honor to be in the wedding. You can splurge a little bit to get a wedding dress and stuff like that. I mean, the bride probably could pick some things out if she wants everything to be real uniform, but it really depends. And I think there's a lot more brides nowadays who are kind of just like, yeah, you know, if you've got the dress in the right color, the style doesn't really matter, or, you know, if you want to wear your hair a certain way. So I think things are a little more lax than they have been.
Yes.
Well, what do you guys think is an appropriate price for a bridesmaid's dress? Because I do agree that if you're a bridesmaid, I think it's customary you do the shoes and the bridesmaid's dress. My brother, you know, just got married in June, and so all the bridesmaids, we got our dresses, shoes, and then she provided the accessories for everyone, and she provided hair and makeup, and I thought that was really nice. But and I thought the dress was a good price for everyone. But I've had friends who say it's a $300 dress, $350, and then you're talking shoes, a wedding gift, bachelorette party. How much do you think you should be spending on that? That
On
was
just
my
the
first
dress or on
experience.
everything?
I don't know. What do you think?
I mean, I'm one of those thrifty people who would say, you know, even $100 for a dress might be a little bit, but I mean, it's a special occasion. But I mean, everything else, it really just depends. I know you want to have a good time. We want to make sure the bride has a good time. So it really, I guess, just depends on the bride and depends on.
I was going to say $150 for a dress, or under for the bridesmaid.
I think that's good.
What do you think?
I really found the perfect dress, and I was lucky because it was like $70 for the bridesmaids, and they, you know, my friends were so appreciative of it. Because I mean, you really can't. I mean, I've spent $300 for a dress that I was in for a wedding, and on top of that, going for the bachelorette party, she wanted to go to Florida, so we all had to pay tickets to go down there, and I mean, it was costly. I mean, it adds up for sure. But yeah.
What did you do for your wedding? What else did the bridesmaids contribute?
They purchased their dress. They purchased. They didn't have to have matching shoes, so they all had black. I had black bridesmaids dresses, so black shoes. They could wear whatever they wanted, and that was really it. Having their hair done was taken care of because one of my bridesmaids was a hairstylist. So
that's
she
nice.
was So it was very cost effective. They had. I think they paid for their gloves too. I had like black gloves that kind of went up.
That's nice.
Yeah, it was cute. But yeah, I mean, and they loved the dresses too because they could wear them at another event. They could wear it not only for a wedding, but they could wear it at a dressier event.
Yeah, I think that's really key to the price. If you're asking someone to shell out a lot of money, you have to consider what else they have to buy and if you can rewear that dress. But I was thinking maybe like $150 is a good price. I don't know.
I think that'd be a good price, especially nowadays. I think that's good.
All right. Well, Lisa, you have something else pretty interesting today. This is about children who were bullied, how they interact with life growing up, right? What's that?
Well, what the study looked at, what they were looking at were kids that were bullied as children, and then the study they interviewed these children, and then 20 years later re-interviewed them and to see how their happiness was as an adult. And what they found was that those that were being bullied did not have any, it did not correlate with any future unhappiness in their lives. So it did not mean that because they were bullied because of being fat or being small or anything of that nature, that it was going to lead them to be unhappy adults. It actually contradicted that. And this study actually contradicts previous research as well. So the happiness really does come from within ourselves, and that basically shows it. Now, they're not saying that, number one, it's okay then, I'm just going to go ahead and bully anybody, and but they also are not saying that, it doesn't stick with you, that those times that you're being bullied, that does stick with you. But it did not correlate to them truly being unhappy as adults. What do you guys think about that?
I don't know, like you said, I think it's interesting because there have been studies in the past that have said the opposite. So it's interesting to see that there is a change in that viewpoint with that research. Definitely.
I wonder what type of bullying we're talking about, because there's little bullying, picking on, like kids picking on each other, or there's also bullying, by adults to children and things like that, maybe parents. And I don't know, I'm actually really surprised by that, because I do think that it sticks with people and it affects your psyche. But then maybe it sticks with you, and when people are no longer doing that to you, you're a lot happier. I don't know.
I mean, it's going to affect everybody differently too. Yeah. So it might not affect one person, they might be fine later in life, but somebody else might have, some trauma from it. So everyone's different.
I was surprised by it too. I really thought that it was, going to say something much different than what it said, because, I just feel like, bullying does have an impact on all of us, and as children, and then, seeing it with my own children too. It's tough, and I don't want it to ever become something that's going to make my child unhappy in the future either. So.
And well, it's interesting because they say it doesn't affect your happiness, but what about other aspects of your life? How you interact with coworkers, how successful you would be, or self-confidence. So you may still be happy, but maybe you don't have that, sticks with your confidence and things like that in similar situations later in life.
Right,
so,
that's true.
I don't know.
Good point,
Bully-free
Katie.
world.
Yes.
Well, before we go to break, it is Wednesday, so I wanted to announce my weekly giveaway from Stephen Lawrence Upscale Consignment Shop, and I